It's Tom from GreenShortz, and it's been a couple of weeks since I did a live stream finishing up the cob on the bread oven here. It's actually had 3 weeks to dry, which is pretty good, although I can tell by the color it's not fully dry yet. This is a ball of cob, and you can see how much lighter this is. That is fully dry. But the oven's not drying so fast because it's so thick. But that's part of the design. It needs to be thick to hold heat. Anyway, so what I want to do today is quickly show you how I'm going to open up the door and remove the sand core. The sand core is still inside with that newspaper layer over the top of it, which is separating the cob from the sand. So we should be able to pull that out, and I've got some blocks of wood in there along with some bricks, and so I didn't have to use all the sand. I'm going to be pulling the sand into a tub so I can use it again for some more cob. If you're watching this after the live stream, you can click on the gear down in the bottom corner. It should be over here somewhere, down over there, and you can set this to 2-speed. I'm not going to do a lot of talking in this video just because it's pretty self-explanatory. So you should be able to watch it 2-speed and get the high points. Alright, so let's open the door and see how this thing turned out. Set this aside. Couple of bricks in there. Move the camera over here so you can see better. Alright, so it dropped off there a little bit. Sorry about the connection. We'll see if that stays connected. I saw a good morning there a second ago. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. Here in Lilburn, Georgia, near Atlanta. It's evening, afternoon. What I love about this material is that it's available all over the world. Mud, that is. This is pretty tight here. Let's see if I can get this. I'm using my DJI Osmo, which is a gimbal. It's holding the tripod steady for me. If I can get this out, it's wedged in there pretty tightly. Good evening from the vape stop. I'll take it easy. I won't use too much force there. bit of a problem here. I've got this stove has settled down on this block of wood here. I didn't have enough sand on the top of it, so it's kind of stuck. And I don't want to break it. We maybe stopped here. You can see there that the cob is sitting on that block of wood. It's pretty tight. I may have to get a hammer and see if I can't adjust that or get it loose. And that's actually pretty long. It goes back on top of that one for a bit. But you can see here how the newspaper layer is easily peeling off the inside. So that did its job. I also had the door ready ahead of time when I built this stove oven, that is. And I've got a recess here for the door to fit in, so it's nice and tight. That ain't budging. It's starting to move, but well, this live stream's gone to pretty much uninteresting. Bear with me and we'll see if we can get this. We have movement. Yes. There you see how big that was. A 4x6. Give you a look inside the oven here. Alright, the sand should start coming out much easier now. Yeah, Imsana, I think, were you on the last live stream I did? I had someone else who was interested in doing one on their balcony, which I do think is possible. So let's get the rest of the sand out and then we'll light the fire. Again, the newspaper layer's coming out nice and easily. There'll probably be one little layer of newspaper left when it's done, but that'll burn out in the first couple firings. hopefully my arm will be long enough to reach to the back of this oven, because it's pretty deep. I said in my last live stream that I'm actually working on a DIY video of this whole build. I actually promised that a couple weeks ago, but it turns out I had about 3.5 hours of footage, so I'll be using time lapse and high speed to really knock the length down on that. So watch for that in the next couple weeks. So Imsana, that would be a way for you to look at how to perhaps scale something down like this for your balcony. Something that wasn't here on the last live stream was this metal roof that I put over the stove, or the oven. I keep calling it a stove. That's because anything that's earthen like this, even though it is going to be fired with the heat, it's not going to be a true pottery firing. So it would eventually just erode away. We didn't have protected from the rain. I didn't film building this because I had to do it quickly because Hurricane Irma was about to hit Atlanta about 3 weeks ago. So I put this up real quick. In fact, I don't even have all the bolts in yet, so I'll be finishing that up. So just a galvanized metal roof. Actually, I'll give you a little. Actually used some scraps that I had from my house project. So good material that'll be able to withstand the heat pretty well too. That'll be above this stove oven. So it's kind of an igloo. If you can imagine inside this, there's a higher dome of sand. And actually the ratio that you want to use for an oven like this is 60% height for the door, and then 100% height for the top of the inside of the dome. That'll let it draw correctly. So you want enough height here that you can get air pulling in, the heat pulling it up, and then out the front. I actually learned that from Jay Townsend. He's got a great channel on YouTube. If you're itching to see a cob oven build video, you can check out his. His is done, mine's not done yet. So the cob on the oven body itself is about 6 inches thick. it's a little thinner here on the door, the door opening. And the reason it's so thick is because an oven like this works like a heat sink. You put in the fire, you heat it up for about 2 hours, get it really, really hot, then you pull the fire out, put your baking in, and put that door in so it's nice and tight. So there's no more fire during the baking process. Now pizza ovens are different. You keep the fire going during the pizza baking. Got another big 6x6 inside here that just wiggling a little. I think if I did this again, I would put a layer of sand between my boards just to allow a plane for them to slide on. As it is, I stacked them in. Right on each other, and now they're nice and tight. They've probably absorbed some of the moisture from the sand and expanded, and so now they're tighter than they were initially. Well, this isn't very exciting. But stay tuned, because we're going to get the fire going soon. This is the stuff that gets edited out in a I don't think anybody's watching live anymore. So I'm going to kill this and get this done, and then come back on with another stream to get the fire going inside. I think that will be a lot more interesting. But I hope... Oh, you're still there. Okay, good. If you're still watching, then I'll keep going. I think once I get this big block out, Yeah, true. I could use bolts. I do have a screwdriver nearby. I think it's coming. Let me try and get the top block off first. Leave it. I see that. Leave it like it is. I appreciate y'all sticking around. This is interesting to do this like this, where I know I've seen some suggestions from y'all that's been good. We say y'all here in the South. That means all of you. You all. Where's everybody from? I think Sana's from Germany. Is that right? Yeah, Berlin. Yes. Guten Abend. One thing I'm realizing is I don't think my arm's long enough to reach the back of the oven. But I think once I get down to the end of it, it's just going to be sand, so it should come out pretty easily. Okay, oh yes. Now you'll see why it was so hard to get out, because it was that long. So maybe smaller pieces of wood would be a good idea. And again, putting sand in between them, that would make it easier for them to be slid out. And that was the big one in the middle. I think it should be a cakewalk now. Let's see. This is more like I'd envisioned it. Here, let me take a look inside. So a few more blocks in here. And a lot of sand there on the back of the oven. I need a light to... Arizona, born in Mexico. Welcome. Well, the blocks need to come out because they're where the fire is going to go, in the oven. Basically, the oven was built over a dome of sand, and so that dome of sand had blocks inside it to basically mean I had to use less sand for that reason. So I stacked the blocks up and then built the sand over the top of it. So I have to get them out because I need a cavity in the oven for it to work. So that's where the fire goes. It's where the heat is collected and stored. So that's why the blocks are coming out. Another big one. In fact, when I built you can see how this corner's sawed off. When I built the sand dome, this block was sticking out the back of it. So I just sawed the corner off to get it to fit. You'll see I've got two very different colors of sand here. This is the sand I bought from the local home improvement store. And this is the sand I dug out of the creek right across the street. Greetings from Canada. Or greetings to you in Canada. So this sand was free, and this sand I had to pay for. So check out if you can find some free sand in a creek bank somewhere. It does just as well as what you'd have to pay for. It's just not as pretty. There's just one more big block in here, and I think we'll have it all. Ooh, that looks good. All right, let's see if I can get you guys in there. Take a look. Let's see. I don't know how the light's going to be in there, but let's see. Well, the Osmo will only let me turn so much here. I don't know, could you see any of that, or was it just too dark? Since y'all are here for the long haul, a bit, yeah. So basically, what I'm seeing on the inside is the back wall of sand, which is white, then a nice clean newspaper layer all the way around. So that did a really good job of keeping the two layers separate, the cob separate from the sand. We don't want those two mingling. So let me quickly get the rest of the sand out, and then we can light a fire. That'll be the fun part. maybe one more important measurement when you make a cob oven like this is the length of your arm. I can just barely reach the back. I also now know what a large animal vet feels like. Yes, but I'm live on YouTube, so. I'm live on YouTube. Yeah, I will. I'll bring it in. Alright, so I've got some materials here for a little fire, which we're going to start right here by the door and then push it in. There is still a little bit of sand in the very back that I can't reach. I'll have to reach that with something else. No. Alright, so I just got a simple little small sticks fire here. I don't want this to generate too much heat yet. This is just going to be a drying fire. This is all oak. I got a big oak tree right above me here. Tilt you up there so you can see it. A beautiful tree that we saved when we built our house. And it drops lots of little branches like this. So perfect fuel for getting a fire started. And it's also, this is attrition wood, so it's wood that a tree didn't have to be cut down in order to be used for fuel. So alright, now that this is going, let's push it back. closer here. Hopefully the light will let you see inside a little bit. So notice one thing, that the smoke is pretty much coming out only the top half. That would indicate that we're getting a good air current coming in the bottom half of the opening, and then the heat is then pushing the smoke out the top half, that's what we want to see, is that it's drawing like that. If it doesn't draw, then it's not going to get enough air to the fire and we won't get a clean burn. The newspaper layer is burning off the top. Let me see if I can show you that. Can't actually see what you're seeing. My camera won't flip around when it's in live mode. I'm going to push the fire back just a little bit more into the center of the oven. There's a really cool layer of smoke. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the smoke isn't going down below a certain point. It's riding on the current of the air that's going in, almost like looks like water. That's cool. You can see the newspaper dropping down off the top of the oven. Wow. Were you guys able to see that layer of smoke? That was pretty cool. So, this is kind of what I wanted to show you all today and accomplish, which is to get the sand out, get a fire started, and start the drying process to finish this off. So it does eventually get to this color. And cool, I'm glad you could see that smoke layer. That was pretty cool. So what I'll probably do is a few more of these fires over the next week or so. And then my neighbor actually knows how to bake bread. And that's the purpose of this oven, is to use all the scraps of wood that I've saved from the tree, but also from my house construction process, which all the untreated wood that is. So that's going to be used for fuel in the oven. There's the train. Can't get through a live stream without the train coming by, but that's part of the ambiance here. And burn a bigger fire every day. Okay, I like that. I think, have you done some cob ovens before? I know that's a lot more common in Mexico. In some villages, they still use these ovens on a regular basis. Actually, I think what I've, and actually if y'all have some questions, you can ask now. I'll take some time and just, so this drying fire, I'll let burn out the way it is. I'm not going to let this go any longer in just a few minutes. But when you're heating the oven up, once it's fully dry to bake in it, you need to let the oven probably run or fire for about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. The goal being to fully warm the whole oven. Like right now, I can't feel any heat on the top of this oven yet. So it takes a while for that thermal mass of the stove to really, or the oven to really heat up. Any other questions? And I'm just a novice at this. I've watched a few videos on how to do this. Thought of a few things I could do differently to make it cooler, like using that tile. Ooh, that's hot right there. So I'm actually looking forward to using this oven to bake bread. And my whole channel here on GreenShortz is about sustainability, green DIY. So things we can do to make our lives more sustainable and do it ourselves. Looks like the newspaper's almost all the way down. I will say this, here's something that's interesting. It looks like a gingerbread house. Yeah, that's the tile. I put some tile around the door here just to make it a little more durable, and I'll clean these up a little bit with the toothbrush once the stove is fully dry. Gives it a little more decorative element. One thing I'll say is when I put my hand in here, it's pretty cool. And as I raise it up, about right here, I can feel intense heat. So there's definitely 2 layers of air, one going in up to about here, and then the heat coming out. So that's getting a nice draw. There aren't any. You'll have more opportunities to ask questions because I'm going to do a lot more live streams with this oven and hopefully bring in some folks who can show you how to make bread too. The hearth. The hearth is built out of, I got a 2x8 here. I've got some really stout posts. I had started out with some smaller posts and they weren't doing it. What I have is the whole 2x10 isn't the full depth of it, but on the side here, you can see I've got a sheet of 3/4 inch or 5/8 plywood, and then above that there's a grid of 2x4s underneath that, then some more bracing here. There's about 3 inches of sand above the plywood before the bricks. So I've got, these aren't fire bricks, but they're pavers. So there's pavers that go back into the oven as well. So, but the hearth has it's just some dimensional lumber with that layer of sand underneath, and then the pavers on top. You can see a little better here. Whew. Smoky. Any other questions before I sign off? It's been almost 45 minutes. Well, it's been over 45 minutes. These live streams go by fast, but they're fun. I enjoyed hanging out with y'all today. Letting you see the real, this is real behind the scenes with the, I can tilt up here. It doesn't always go smoothly, that's for sure, when you're doing stuff on your own. But hopefully the mistakes that I made, I did not use the salt or broken glass as the insulator under the hearth. I used sand. I have seen images of people using wine bottles underneath there. I'm guessing is that what you're talking about? Using the wine bottle that would be glass, but also the air gap would be an insulator as well. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for watching today. And as always here, our mission at Green Shorts is to help you see something that's green, because I believe once you see something green, you'll be green. And you can save a little green, that is, save some money by doing it yourself. So I try and do videos about once a week. That hasn't happened lately. But so if you subscribe to my channel, which you can do right below here, and if you click on the bell as well, then you can it'll notify you when I do new videos. So thanks for sticking around, y'all. It was a little work in progress today, but that's what we can do with a live stream. So Guten Nacht from Berlin. Hello or goodbye to Canada, and also to Arizona. So, and anyone else who is watching, thanks for sticking around, and have a good night.